Sarah's heart raced as she left the vibrant party behind, seeking refuge in the quiet night. The cold night air, the thumping bass, and lively chatter faded behind her as she stepped into the cool night air, stumbling slightly, feeling dizzy from the alcohol. The moon cast an eerie glow on the dimly lit streets, and the weight of her backpack, filled with textbooks and a laptop, pressed heavily on her shoulders. The city, once alive with energy, now whispered with the hush of moonlight. It was past 2 a.m., and all she wanted now was to get home, kick off her shoes, and sleep. Pulling out her phone, she navigated to the familiar Uber app. Tired eyes scanned the screen as she tapped the request button, a lifeline to the sanctuary. The app displayed a reassuring message: "Your ride is just a minutes away." The virtual countdown to her ride's arrival began, each passing second a heartbeat drawing her closer to the end of a fun-filled night, bringing her closer to the comfort of her own bed. As she waited on the quiet sidewalk, she noticed the distant hum and amber glow of the approaching car illuminated the quiet street. She breathed a huge sigh of relief, combined with a mixture of exhaustion and anticipation settled in her bones. The city's nightlife was winding down, and the streets were becoming deserted, just the distant echoes of laughter fading into the night. Sarah's mind was already drifting into thoughts of her cozy room and the promise of a good night's sleep. The sleek form of the car glided to a stop in front of her. She greeted the driver with a tired smile, grateful for the chance to finally relax. The driver acknowledged her with a nod, his features cast in shadows under the dim streetlight. She opened the door to a stale air tinged with a hint of a familiar air freshener. Sarah settled into the worn leather back seat, the engine's soft purr signaling the beginning of her journey home. As the car pulled away from the curb, Sarah leaned back, letting her tired muscles sink into the seat, tired legs aching from all the dancing, grateful for the rest. She stole a glance out of the window, watching the city lights blur into a comforting haze. The rhythmic hum of the tires on the pavement became a lullaby, soothing her into a state of semi-consciousness. However, even in her drunken haze, an unsettling feeling began to creep over her. "This doesn't seem right," she said, her voice laced with a subtle hint of unease. "Can you please take Main Street instead?" The driver didn't respond, remaining silent except for a slight shake of his head, his eyes fixed on the road, except for an unsettling flicker in the rearview mirror to her seat. A chill tightened its grip on Sarah's spine, her initial comfort giving way to a growing sense of dread. She tried to gain a glimpse of his shadow-covered reflection in the rearview mirror, searching for any clue about the identity of the driver. A growing sense of unease, a disconcerting flicker of something unsettling seemed to instantly sober her up. The car continued down the unfamiliar route, the dimly lit streets casting long shadows that danced with the passing streetlights. Sarah, now fully alert, felt a knot tightening in her stomach. The silence in the car, broken only by the distant hum of the engine. His odious body sweat filling her nostrils became suffocating. Reaching for her purse to feign casualness that had slipped to the floor, her hand searching for her phone. The realization of danger sent shivers down her spine, the Uber app signaling her driver was waiting, and she knew she had to act. Sarah discreetly plotted her escape, her mind racing to find a way out without triggering any aggression from the silent driver. Glancing at her phone again, she discovered with dismay that there was no signal, calling for help wasn't an option. The urgency of the situation weighed on her, and she knew she had to make a move before the mysterious driver did. As the car slowed for a stop sign, Sarah seized the opportunity. With a sudden burst of courage, she flung the door open, the cool night air hitting her face. Adrenaline surged through her veins as she took off running. The driver gave chase with an eerie determination, shadows playing tricks on her mind. The echo of their loud, hurried footsteps mixing with the distant sounds of the quiet night. The dark, empty streets stretched ahead, and she sprinted away from the ominous car, kicking off her high heels, her only goal to put as much distance as possible between her and the silent threat from the driver's seat. She raced blindly into the darkness, the inky blackness swallowing her surroundings, disorienting her sense of direction. Panic clawed at her chest as she had no idea where to turn. The rough sidewalk scratching her heels, heavy footsteps pounded behind her, the rhythmic beat echoing the rapid thudding of her heart. The driver gave chase with an eerie determination, the shadows playing tricks on her mind. Suddenly, bright headlights sliced through the darkness from around a curve in the road. Sarah, fueled by desperation, waved her arms wildly, a plea for salvation. The truck skidded to a stop, and relief washed over her like a tidal wave. Gasping for breath, she approached the driver's side. "Please help me," she cried through the open window, her voice trembling with fear. "That man," she said, pointing behind her into the night where the darkness seemed to consume everything. The elderly couple inside the truck, their faces etched with concern, nodded urgently and pushed open the passenger door. As Sarah climbed into the safety of the truck, the elderly couple sped away, leaving the ominous pursuit behind. The thud of her heart gradually slowed as she found solace in the truck's cab. The couple, empathetic and alarmed by her ordeal, immediately called the police to report the chilling incident. Sarah finally caught her breath, the flashing red and blue lights of the approaching police car providing a sense of security. It was over. Back in her apartment the next morning, Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, the events of the night still haunting her thoughts. The memory of the fake Uber driver's cold stare sent shivers down her spine. She hugged her pillow tight, profoundly grateful for the strangers who became her unlikely saviors in the dark. The isolation and fear that had gripped her in the night now seemed like a distant nightmare, replaced by the warmth of her safe apartment and the knowledge that she had escaped an unimaginable fate. Next time she thought, "I take an Uber, I'll send a picture of the driver and license plate to my friends and be more careful."